Hey guys, we are going to make a Chinese vase filled with cherry blossoms. So I'd like for you to eyeball your paper and mark about the halfway mark right there. And then you're going to draw your vase top. So your handout has a couple different shapes, and at each shape at the top is where our branches are going to come out. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to make however wide that vase is going to be, mine's going to be about that way, to do an oval. So I'm going to start by making an oval, and then I'm going to have the rest of my shape of my vase. And I think I'm going to make it so it needs to be symmetrical. It's part of the important part of the vase. So here is my vase. And it's a little wonky. There we go. Make it a little bit more even. There. All right, so I'm going to take my eraser and clean up these lines. And then we're going to start with creating the background. And our background is going to be something called a wet on wet technique. And it's just like it says. You're going to use wet paper to spread your wet watercolor. So that means now that we have the nice shape of my vase all set up, we are going to get the rest of the paper wet, and I'm going to keep the inside of the vase totally white. So I hope you enjoyed watching the videos about Chinese pottery and the cherry blossoms. But as we have shown you before, I have two water containers for my watercolors. So I am going to take the plain water and I'm going to outline my vase this side, and I'm getting it all nice and wet. So I'm going to just do one section at a time. So now I'm going to take my paint and get lots of pigment on my paintbrush, and I'm going to spread the pigment. And see how much easier that spreads because the paper is already wet. And so what I'd like to do is I would like to sort of meld the colors together. So that means I'm going to get another section of my paper wet. Okay, it's all wet. And then you do it carefully around the pencil marks. So then that way only the non-vase part gets wet. All right, here, all set. So I wanted some blue in here as well. And I wanted the colors to sort of blend together. There we go. Our first step is all finished. Our background is all set up. I am going to make it a little bit darker right here at the bottom, just so then that way the vase isn't totally floating. All right, so we're all set. So now on to the next. You may need to take a minute and let this dry, but we are going to use our blue markers and we are going to outline the vase, and we are going to put in lots of patterns. So you can have bands around the top and the bottom, maybe in the middle too. You can add stamps, you can add different geometric shapes, you can do whatever you want. but we are going to decorate this vase so it looks amazing. Okay, so I've completed my decoration for my vase, and I made a couple different decorations, and then here, instead of doing a pattern, I did a little scene. So you have two choices here. You can take your brown markers, or you can take your watercolor paint. Ooh, no, I just did that. Since my paint's not entirely dry, I'm gonna stick with my markers. And I would like you to draw your cherry blossom branches. So branches can be curved. They definitely come off at different angles. And then I would like you to make several different cherry blossom branches. And after you have the shape down of a couple, we're gonna make them look a little bit more realistic. So I will say in the directions that, having done this once now, is I'm going to tell you to make your vase a little bit smaller. So maybe start it at 2/3, because I wish I had more space for my branches now. So now that I have my branches shaped, I'm gonna make them a little bit thicker. Make them a little bit thicker as they go into the vase. And as you might imagine, you go past that first top and you stop at the bottom top, so it makes it look like they're going into the vase and actually being held by the vase. So here I'm gonna continue making my cherry blossoms sticks a little bit wider, more three-dimensional, so they're gonna get maybe a little knobby, a little bendy, put some bumps on it. And then we're rounding out this project with the final part, which is actually adding those cherry blossoms. And as you might have already deduced, we're going to use the tissue paper and the glue for this activity, which will be fun. All right, so I think my branches are in better shape. I think I might make them a little bit less perfect. They're looking a little too straight. Curve it out a little bit. All right, I think we're in good shape. All right, so let's bring out the glue and the tissue paper.